All right. Hello. RC's MMA here. Man, I've been trying to conjure up ideas on what to do a video on because there's very little in the way of MMA news lately. There's small stories here and there, like Yoel Romero's fight getting pulled and boring stuff like that. And then I thought about doing like a prediction video for the fight night that will be coming up in 2.5 weeks' time. They don't even have that card ready yet. So I was gonna then just do a Kelvin Gastelum and I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but that dude who broke Jacare's arm that he's fighting, the French dude. And then I thought, nah, I don't really want to do that either. And then I was going to do a video talking about the James Krause betting scandal. And then I just couldn't come up with enough thoughts on it. And I wasn't sure how it would be perceived because I have some odd takes on that issue. Because I'm able to look at both sides of it and sort of play devil's advocate. So I might say some things that people don't particularly agree with, which I don't really give a shit. But if you want to see a video on that, let me know in the comments. Also, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe, please, right over there. Click that button. It's easy and free, and I'd greatly appreciate it. So, what I'm going to talk about today, though, is something that I have found quite interesting and at the same time quite infuriating. There's nothing that angers me more. Well, two things maybe. Well, it can be put broadly under one category, but when UFC, or not even UFC, sorry, MMA officials, meaning referees, judges, or doctors, or anybody along those lines, when they interfere with a fight, or if they screw up, if they just screw up royally, there's nothing that pisses me off more than that, because especially the judges, man. Because the thing is that isn't just everybody. I'm sure people have heard this before, but it's not just a fight. Like, you're not just getting the fight wrong. You're screwing up half that dude's paycheck. You are stopping any momentum that he may or may not have had, and could quite possibly be altering the trajectory of his career. It could have ramifications that we might not know, like down the line. Like, you might see somebody get a bad decision loss, and then, next thing you know, 3 years later, you're like, where'd that guy go? And you look at the record, and it's like, oh yeah, after that, he had like 4 straight losses, and, his career went down the shitter. But one of the worst parts about it is there's never any accountability for them. They don't have to address any issues, or it just doesn't seem like they have any repercussions, even if it was so much as like your boss telling you, hey, you fucked that one up, let's make sure that doesn't happen again, like a normal person's boss might do. But so when Doug Crosby was involved in the Paddy Pimblett fight, I believe. Yeah, and the fight the previous night in a different state, and I can't remember those two gentlemen's name because Bellator kind of fucking sucks, if I'm being honest. and nobody's name is extremely memorable that didn't fight in the UFC over at Bellator. So if I remember their names, it's typically because they fought in the UFC or they got some promotion somewhere on YouTube that I saw or something. But he was involved in 2 god-awful decisions on back-to-back nights. Then I started going down a rabbit hole with this guy because I went, Jesus, that's 2 in a row. And then I heard Ariel say something about how Chael's friends with him and how he had stalked him allegedly or something like that. And now, like, with that kind of when Ariel talks about that kind of shit, I kind of take it with a grain of salt, not because I don't think that he's an honest journalist or anything like that, but I think he also is a little bit of a drama queen. So I think what one might consider stalking, Ariel's threshold for stalking might be a hell of a lot lower. So we'll just, that one's not important to the point anyways. He apparently has many relationships with very many different fighters. And I did a video on that a little while ago with the AJ Agazarm issue and how even after AJ pleaded, essentially, it was like a plea for help at the post-fight press conference of his fight where there was an odd decision. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. I don't even know if there was an investigation. As far as I know, there wasn't. But that's a major problem. Then, so after the Patty fight, I thought, geez, okay, back to back. Then, after something controversial happens on a pay-per-view or a fight night, one podcast that I like to watch or listen to is the Anik and Florian podcast. The reason is because, Jon Anik's probably one of my favorite. I think he's one of my favorite commentator. I think he is my favorite commentator of all time in any sport ever. And I like when he's allowed to let loose and swear a little, because his true self shows a bit more, and it's not so robotic and, being the GOAT at ad reads and all that. And I like to hear whether or not they agree or disagree or things like that. Now, normally, my least favorite part of that podcast is the Ray Longo Minute, which I know is going to be blasphemous to some people because it's the most popular segment on their show. But sometimes I just feel like I don't need to hear Ray. Sometimes I just feel like it's not necessary. I don't need to. He'll repeat himself. He says the same shit that was already said, and this and that and this and that. Well, this episode was very different. So, Jon Anik thought Patty lost that fight. Kenny Florian did not, which is fine. Whatever. So there was a little bit of back and forth on it, but then once Ray Longo got on there, good God, he brought the heat, and he came in there guns a-blazing against Doug Crosby. And he brought up shit that I had no idea what he was talking about. It was like one of those times where someone gets so heated they just start spewing shit off as fast as they possibly can. And it's like you don't even know what they're saying because you're like, geez, I wasn't there for any of this, dude. I was fucking 10 years old. I don't know what you're talking about. He's talking about like Italian sounding names, dude, because they're from New York. He goes, you don't think he's in fucking bed with that guy? And I'm like, shit, okay. Jeez, I don't know. But I remember thinking, this is incredible, man. At least someone has the balls to do it. I almost sneezed there, and I didn't want to cause a fucking earthquake or something on the computer, so my bad. Anyways, he fucking nailed it, dude, and it was one of my favorite segments I've ever heard of any podcast ever. Because a lot of the times when it comes to shit like this, especially people that are employed by the UFC, like Jon Anik is, they like to beat around the bush a little bit. And Ray Long, I don't think you could fucking pay Ray Longo to beat around the bush. He'd be like, what the fuck is this? Give me a fucking machete. I'll go right through it. I want to punch a hole through this fucking bush. That's what he would tell you. So that made me very happy. But then John said something that kind of pissed me off. And he goes, largely I agree with everything what you just said, Raymond, but it's really hard for me to stay quiet right now. And I thought, you fucking bitch. The guy doesn't even fucking work for the UFC. He is not your superior. He's not your boss. I don't care who the fuck he knows. It is goddamn obvious that he's making horrible judging calls, getting jobs over and over again, and breaking there's ethics violations here, And so that was that. Whatever. Ray went on a little bit longer about it, and then they moved on. I saw a clip this morning, though, of Jon Anik and Ray Longo revisiting the topic. And Ray Longo starts going on about fucking another Italian-sounding dude. Don't know who he is. But apparently in California, following this incident, they changed the rules. So there's like a cool down period for judges, essentially. You can't fucking hop on a plane after you just judged a fight. Go fucking judge another one in a different state. You have to wait. In between time, it's like a cool off period for a heist in GTA or something. But it's just fucking wild because it took something like that happening for you guys to, the NBA has that rule, and I fucking hate basketball. That's a good rule, okay? Make sure these dudes are well slept, mentally there and all that. But what was different about this clip was that Jon Anik did not stay quiet this time, which made me very happy. Because there's nothing I hate more than someone not speaking their mind because they're afraid of what an employer or supervisor or anything like that might do to them. I'm one of those individuals that lost my job because of mandates that I refuse to partake in. So whenever anybody has an excuse and that's it, well, I only did it to keep my job, man. Well, you know what? Then we built different, okay? We built different. So when I heard Jon Anik start going off, I thought, God damn, John, you grew up here. Thank you. And what he was saying was, and they had brought up the Al Iaquinta Jorge Masvidal fight again, which Douglas Crosby was the dissenting judge, and that split decision win for Al Iaquinta, and he gave all 3 rounds to Jorge Masvidal. And it was well known, and it is well known, that he had a problem with Ray Longo and the Sarah Longo fight team. And while I thought Jorge Masvidal won that fight, from what I can remember, I don't think there's any argument for 3 rounds to 0 for anybody. So, clearly that scorecard was personal, right? He had issues with the trainers and coaches of Al Iaquinta, and he thought, no, didn't see that. He didn't win any round. And then Jon Anik starts going off about how this guy would be motherfucking him with his eyes from across the cage while Jon is trying to call fights. So much so that Jon had to finally ask Mark Ratner if he could essentially put like some fucking eyeball leashes on his boy, because the last thing he needs when he's trying to call a night of fights is some motherfucker trying to intimidate him with looks from across the octagon. This is insane to me, dude. Like, Mark Ratner, very high up in the athletic committee. Like, he's... What is he? Like, he was, like, the former director of fucking some bullshit at the Nevada. So, you know, a well-connected individual when it comes to the world of mixed martial arts and boxing, for that matter. It says... Mark Ratner became a member of the UFC Hall of Fame November 21st, blah, blah, blah. Bro, what the fuck? My eyes are playing tricks on me. Today, announced UFC Senior Vice President of the Government Regulatory Affairs. That's his job today, but what was he previously? Come on. God damn it, dude. Really? He was formerly, he was the executive director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So probably the most important athletic commission in the entire country, especially in terms of the fight business. And he was the former director of that commission, right? So this dude's well connected. So here's what my question would be then, right? If you've got a UFC broadcaster, and I get that at the time maybe Jon Anik wasn't necessarily like a veteran UFC broadcaster, but now, looking back, hindsight, all that shit, Jon Anik might be the most important person on that desk. He's the only one who can get ad reads out in a timely manner without cutting people. Like, he knows exactly perfectly where to place them. He can always reel in DC and fucking Joe Rogan when they start thinking that they're on a podcast together. He's just the most professional. He is so well spoken. Like, his shit is fucking tight, boy. No fat on his words, okay? On his reads, whatever term you want to use. His shit's perfect, dude. He's the GOAT, in my opinion. Y'all can say I'm fucking dick riding. I don't give a shit. He's the GOAT. There is no better sports broadcaster. When you got a man like that coming up to you, and you have obviously sway with these athletic commissions, as you were the former director, you get wind that a judge is intimidating UFC employees. UFC being one of the biggest, I don't know, what do you want to say, customers, business partners, like I don't know what you would want to say, but they are heavily involved with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. That shit shouldn't be flying, dude. So this is why now I've heard this question be asked over the course of a few videos, and I'm sorry that I fucking was slowly dying there in the middle of my video, but my coffee just kicked in. How the fuck has this guy not been fired? Dude, what the fuck does he have on? He must have a fucking video of Mark Ratner, like, watching his wife get fucking pounded by 3 black dudes or some shit. Or maybe he has a video of himself getting pounded by 3 fucking black dudes or some shit. Like, how the fuck can... It seems like the amount of... It seems like the amount of issues and like conflicts that this man has had, fucking dyslexic, Jesus, involving people that work in the UFC, like are employed by UFC, people that work under the UFC banner, coaches, fighters in other organizations, fighters in this organization. How the fuck Does this man still have a job? This must be like a case of the ultimate blackmail. Like, and not just on one person either. Because, like, Dana White has sway over athletic commissions. We can pretend that they're completely separate entities, but and they are technically. But there's elbow rubbing that goes on. There's favors that get done. There's all sorts of shit, right? They're businessmen. So I'm thinking of a particular example. Jose Aldo and Piotr Jan, Abu Dhabi, Fight Island, the first pay-per-view ever done on Fight Island, with Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski 2, and Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman 1, right? The feature fight was a vacant bantamweight title fight between Piotr Jan and Jose Aldo. The Jose Aldo fight went on for way too long. Right? Like at least a minute and a half too long. Like of Piotr Jan just beating the fuck out of Jose Aldo with him barely covering up, just doing enough, I guess, for the ref to not fucking stop it. That ref never came out again after that. Ever. He didn't. Because what happened was Dana White went and said, that guy can't come back out. He can't ref another fight tonight. That was dealt with, done deal. Then that guy came out and quit on his own because he thought, well, if I couldn't see that was a bad stoppage, then like I can't be in here because I don't want to be, which and good on him. He didn't want to be a danger to fighters, good on him. But point being, Dana that night was able to effect change. Went and said to maybe shit's a little different in Abu Dhabi, okay? But when you go and you say, that guy can't come back out, he can't ref again, and they do it, they listen. You telling me you can't do that with a fucking judge? Not only that, dude, there's been two retarded judges. Why am I doing two every which way except the fucking normal way? Two retarded judges. Okay. Steve Mazzagatti and Mauro Yamasaki. Dana did in both their careers as refs. They were allowed to be timekeepers and shit like that. But they were never allowed to ref another fight again. Which means that while Dana White and the UFC are separate entities from the athletic commissions, it's not like he holds no sway or no power, no leverage, no nothing. He is the man, dude. He owns, or is essentially acting owner of the UFC. Like these men. Look, if Dana White went to the athletic commission and said, "You got to get rid of this guy. You got to. He's fucked up way too many fights. I need him gone." Okay? They would do it, dude. They would find he would find other states he could work in, other things he could do. He still has a big part in New Jersey. But even if Dana White said he can't judge another UFC fight ever, this man could still get work. So it's not like you'd be taking away his livelihood. Now, the fact that that hasn't happened, I mean, he's gotta have shit over people's heads. There's no way. There's no way he doesn't, man. And tell me I'm fucking wrong. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. Thank you, Jon Anik, for finally coming out and not being a total pussy. And not just staying quiet. As Ray Longo does your fucking dirty work for you. Thank you for coming out and doing it. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. Like and subscribe. You fucks. You filthy animals. Fucking. Yeah. Like and subscribe. Peace out.